News.
Very warm welcome to the program, The Mid-Morning Park. You're watching MBCI TV on this, the 7th of June, 2023. And of course, you know, this is your weekly show where we interrogate topical, weighty issues, weighty matters, weighty subjects in our counties and also across the country, and also to give you an opportunity to also cooperate with us and also join us even in highlighting these particular critical matters. And today we've lined up for you, of course, a very, very interesting discussion that you don't want to miss. But as usual, I have my co-pilot in this particular program, Bwana Kagi. Good to see you today.
Yeah, good morning, Mangicho. How is it going?
Good morning to you, and we are doing well.
Yes.
We thank God for the grace and His mercies also.
All right, and for the dear viewer, welcome to the Mid-Morning Park. Today is on Wednesday, as usual, the 7th day of June 2023. And welcome to this program as we put into perspective on various matters that are of public importance on this program. A day when Mangicho, every Kenyan is now asking for rains.
Yes.
Yeah, yesterday I was crisscrossing the country, and most of the parts of the country, there is no rain, and the food is in plenty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. I think, and that is just as you've said, we are really trusting God that we'll have the provision of rains so that the food in the lands can actually continue to grow. And of course, they'll be of major benefit to the entire country.
Yes, and of course, when we have enough rains and we have plenty of maize in our farms,
yes,
the story of unga will be a thing of the past.
Sure, you're looking forward that the rains can be able actually to help. The story of unga, which has now become a major thorn in the flesh of Kenyans.
Yes, and there's something that's coming up slowly by slowly. There is a debate of the food security, but more particularly, Kenyans are deliberating on how we can be able to change the issue of maize and unga to other types of staple food. No, we are diehards of ugali in a way. When our crops don't bring some good yields, we are in trouble.
Yeah.
But sometimes we never thought about what are the alternatives of this staple food for us.
Exactly.
You know?
I think that is something that we want to look into and maybe also have a discussion and also try to make Kenyans to actually know and to actually believe that there is what we can actually call varieties, and they should actually go for this.
Yeah.
But before maybe we go to the other issues that have made headlines across the week, we just want to bring to your attention, our dear viewer, that today or in this particular show, we'll still be looking at the finance bill. I know this is something that has been trending for quite some time now, but because of the weight of this particular subject, we still want to find out and also to give it a deeper look. And today we want to focus now on Parliament, because Kagi, you are aware that Parliament has it has the final shot as far as this particular bill is concerned. And now, after all these debates, after all the presentations that we've actually seen, some of the organizations taking before the committee that was tasked on matters to do with the public participation, now this particular debate will be heading to Parliament. And Kenyans, the country, will be waiting to see how are the MPs going to vote in relation or in regards to this particular subject. And therefore, our topic today will be Parliament autonomy in debating the finance bill. Parliament autonomy in debating the finance bill. And we have a question that we want you to interact with us on. The question that we'll be asking you in this particular show, in this particular program, is: would you like your MP to support or oppose the finance bill 2023? Do you like your member of parliament to support or to oppose Finance Bill 2023? You know the drill. Begin giving us your feedback on our shortcut platform 23814. 23814, and you can also catch us live on our Facebook page, that is MBCI TV, and also on YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official, and we'll be glad to see how you respond to some of these particular issues. Kagi.
All right, and every year, Mangicho, a time like this one, in our country, we have what we call the national prayers. And today they were being held at Safaricom in Nairobi, whereby leaders from all quarters have met to be able to pray for our nation. And when I was trying to follow up the prayers this morning, I found that it was from the cross divide, the opposition and the government. They were in the prayers, but the principals from the opposition, as they had said yesterday, they skipped the prayer breakfast. You see, the main agenda of this prayer breakfast, Mangicho, is to be able to pray for the nation and also to bring the cohesion in our nation. And when we see our leaders have started diverting their attention from the prayers, then there is a big picture maybe that we are not be able to identify. What is not happening? Is this a reflection of what is happening on the ground, whereby some leaders are not attending such important event, which is very key for our nation? You see, when we give a prayer an opportunity for this land, I think some of the things cannot be solved by politicians, not even by our residents or maybe Kenyans, but prayer can really do a great job for us.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, Bwanakagi, on this particular matter. And we know the essence of prayer. And we actually believe the place of prayer is very critical as far as even the progress of a country is concerned. Maybe one thing that would actually maybe undermine the importance of such an event or such maybe an occasion is if you were just to take it just like any other normal routine, that maybe we do it after a particular period of time, or maybe after a few months, or maybe even after one particular year. So, and again, of course, the motives of those who are actually attending, or the motives of those who are actually participating in such an event is equally very paramount in determining, because we really want to see, and because we know Kenya is a Christian, or we know that Kenya is comprised of more than 90% of Christians.
Yes, and I was asking myself this morning when I was trying to catch up with this event.
Yes.
Yesterday, the opposition said in their statement they are not prepared to attend the event. And I don't know whether they were using this verse in the Bible, whereby we are advised, before you go and pray, and you have something against your brother, you go and settle it down. Because in their statement they were saying yesterday, the reason why they don't want to attend the event, as they gave nod for their members to attend, is because there is no, what they were saying, there is no good environment for the country regarding to that event. I don't know.
And actually maybe those are some of the things that we would really want to see as a country being ironed out, because again, when you look at these prayers, Kagi, you will agree with me that there is also the essence of unity, because unity is also paramount.
Yes.
And, just as the good book says, where there is unity, God commands a blessing. So it would have actually brought a very good picture. It would have actually brought a very good image if in a function like this, irrespective of the political divide that a particular leader or maybe a particular individual is, but when we have a function like this, when we see that the two political divide or members of the two political divide can actually come together and not necessarily putting into consideration their political standings, their political positions and affiliations, this would have done very well, because we know that when it comes now, because when we look at these prayers, we're looking at the good of the country, the betterment of the entire society, irrespective of all these other issues that maybe may bring disagreement. So I don't think it is a very good picture if we can see one particular side boycotting, maybe because of some of these reasons which other people might actually even maybe consider to be frivolous.
And one more thing before we shift to another thing, Mangicho, is that I think last season, outcourse season of prayers before the new government came in place, there was a good plan that was being put in place in regarding to prayers. I would say there was an agreement to start devolving prayers. And these prayers, after being done in the national level, they're supposed to now go down to our counties. And they have started performing them, whereby governors could hold prayers within his county. But along the way, I don't know what happened. I wish it continued, or maybe after this one, they may be able to pick from there, whereby after the national government prayers, we devolve now these prayers to counties, whereby every county can be able to hold some prayers, not once per year, because of the need for the prayers, and maybe like quarterly, to be able to consolidate the power of prayers in our counties. There are many things that are happening, and we really need the intervention of the supernatural power.
Absolutely, absolutely. I cannot agree with you much more, Kagi, on that, because the place of prayer is very paramount, and actually if it can also be escalated other than just the national prayers, but if other counties, the 47 counties, if they could also come up with something like this, and I think maybe, at some point I saw something like that in the county of Nakuru, and maybe this is something that should be embraced in other counties, and when it is given the entire or the utmost weight and also significance, maybe we would actually be surprised to see that things are actually working out, because we all know you cannot overlook the place of the supernatural.
Correct. Now, there's one thing that is coming up slowly,
yes,
whereby the principals of various schools, especially in high school,
right,
they are threatening to close down schools because of the pressure they are receiving from the management and running of the institutions due to lack of finances from the government, or what they call the capitation. You know, the government usually provide money for the tuition and running of other activities in our institutions, but by now they have not received the money, and therefore they are somehow giving an alarm that if things go this way and we don't receive this money, then we'll be forced to close down our institutions. And it is very possible. I was imagining if you are a principal and you have no money to feed the children, what would you do? And one of the challenges they were talking about was the cost of the food commodities. Of course, we know in school we use maize,
yes,
we use beans and rice. And you see, according to them, by the month of May, the sugar, 1 kg was 130 shillings, and now it is 194. Maize was, by the month of May, was 135, and by today is 188. And rice, that is beans, and rice is 466 per kg, and now it's up to 548. And many other things. Sometimes they use sukuma wiki, they use electricity, and everything is shooting day and night. Depending on the school fees they receive, it is becoming difficult for them to be able to run the institutions, right?
Yes.
And we don't know whether after the budget is read, I think later on this month, whether they are going to receive this money. But now we are heading to the half of the term.
yes,
Yeah? And the suppliers are not paid.
yeah.
Some, I think, they have refused to supply the foodstuffs. We don't know, but things are getting hard on them.
It's actually a very unfortunate scenario there, and we are just hoping that after they've raised the alarm, the relevant stakeholders will want to take swift action so that they can also avoid such particular maybe actions to be actually taken. It would be very, very embarrassing if we saw that students are asked to go back home, or they are sent back home due to maybe lack of enough facilities, maybe lack of provision like food, which is very, very essential. And you know, this is also coming at a time maybe when parents have also done their part. Maybe majority of these parents, they've really pulled up their socks, they've strained quite a lot, maybe to get some basis or some basics to ensure that their children, their pupils, their students are actually in school. So maybe there is something that has not gotten, or there is something that went wrong somewhere, and this is now the reason why we are having that kind of a crisis. So it's upon the government to actually make sure that they look into this particular situation and maybe save the situation.
And there is one issue that I have heard is being discussed in our schools, whereby the principals are trying to talk with the students to be able to either skip the meals for the sake of or rationing for that matter. I don't know if it is workable, but if it can work, it can help them to rationing. But there's one positive thing that is happening in our institutions now, away from the high school,
yes,
the TVET institutions, is that the government is seeking to set up factories in TVET institutions.
Okay.
You know, and I think this is a very good gesture regarding to the issue of industrialization in our nation.
Right.
If it can happen, I think it is one of the ways in which our students in the TVET colleges can be able to gain experiences, especially in technical courses. I remember there was an institution I attended, and I could see they were having two, I would call some semi-industries. One was a bakery.
Yeah.
And that bakery used to supply bread within that region, in the high schools, in the colleges, in the supermarkets, and they used to get a lot of money.
Okay.
The same institution had what they would call the production unit for furnitures, and they were generating and manufacturing a lot of furnitures, and they were being supplied all the way to Nairobi and all over, and they were getting more money.
Yeah.
And the students from those institutions could get a chance to be able to go there and see practically what happens within that industry. And I think if we can be able to follow this path, it will be a good gesture, maybe as a way of improving on our industrialization. But now the problem is only one.
Right.
If we have these factories in our TVET institutions, how are we going to manage them? Because they're supposed even to help the institution to get more revenue to run the institution. But now the problem is those factories which are in our institutions are managed by, let's say, the principals or the directors of the institution and some few trainers who maybe benefit more than anybody else. You know, we should get these factories even to surplus of what we have. For example, Magicho, imagine a factory within an institution is generating like how much? Like 500,000 per month.
Okay.
That money is enough to be able to improve maybe on the IT in that institution, infrastructure of that institution. So we don't need to keep on adding school fees to our parents or something, yeah?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you, Kagi, on this, because actually we know as a country, and this is something that we've been saying, that the way to go is to ensure that now we have a skilled labor because of the trends even in the market. And actually when you're talking about job opportunities and employment, what will actually maybe be advantageous to most of our youth today is for them maybe to be in a position to actually showcase their skills. And how will this be possible? This is can actually be made possible by introduction or maybe by the establishment of initiatives like this, because when you're talking about establishment or starting of some of these kind of factories, it basically means that now we want to equip our generation or our students now with the matters to do with skills to be able to see what is it that maybe they can be able to do in terms maybe of production. So I think it is a very, very positive step to take, but now managing it is also something that is very, very important to ensure that it is sustainable and it's something that can actually be followed up to ensure that even the students who are actually in these particular factories, they can actually be helped, but then the government should also provide a conducive environment so that even once they acquire these particular skills, when they are in these institutions, once they graduate, they can be given or they can be allowed to have the relevant, the necessary infrastructure so that they can actually do well or excel in their future career. So
yes,
it's,
and I
it's
think
a positive step.
Yeah, I think this is where China is far ahead of many countries because they have set up many factories in their institutions. You find maybe a child who is in primary school can be able to produce a tangible item. It's not out of any blues. Yes. No.
And you know, that one is reminding me of this particular joke whereby we've been told for so many years that in Kenya we almost export. We export almost every kind of a product, okay? And it's quite embarrassing. And even the ones that we can actually maybe manufacture right here in the country, we first of all export them so that maybe again they can be brought back to the country. So I think it's a conversation that needs to be escalated in different quarters, and it also given the weight that it deserves to ensure that we really have a transformed society, especially in matters to do with education and the need for the job market at the moment.
Right. And then yesterday, Nordin Haji was endorsed by the National Assembly Committee to be the National Intelligence Service Director, together with Kamau Duge, who was also endorsed to be the Central Bank Governor. Now the House is now expected to be able to deliberate and debate the committee's report, either to endorse them or to reject them as the Governor of CBK and even the Director of NIS.
Yeah, and one thing that comes out clearly as far as this particular subject is concerned, Kagi, is that I think these are individuals who have served even in the previous government, so they are not necessarily new names. As far as maybe governance is concerned, Nuruddin Haji, Director of Public Prosecutions, for quite some time. Kamau Thuge is also knowledgeable and also a household name when it comes to matters to do maybe with the economy and also finance. So we want to expect that maybe the team or maybe the committee or the parliamentary team that was maybe looking into them and maybe even questioning them or interrogating them. We want just to believe that they were so much focused with the expertise that these two individuals are bringing, as opposed to maybe to other political interests. You know, when we have a situation whereby we also maybe have politics at play, there is a tendency to forget. There is a tendency to overlook the critical issues. So we are looking at somebody like Nuruddin Haji. We want to find out, okay, this is a new post that is being given, but we want now to look at and to examine critically, when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, how was his performance? In a scale of 1 to 100, how much can we really give him? What are some of his successes? What are some of the cases that we can actually pinpoint or mention and say, this is a case that the Director of Public Prosecution actually processed very successfully, and we can be able to say that this is what he did, these maybe are the people who are prosecuted, these are the people who are charged, these are the people who are fined, these are the people maybe who are jailed because of maybe his contribution. So I want to really believe, even maybe as they get this particular post, the aspect of their expertise, their professionalism, their competence, even in their previous positions, should actually be something to be given the relevant weight that it deserves.
And one of the major roles of the parliamentary committee, when it comes to maybe vetting these members who are holding public offices, is to give public the best person for that position, and also to give opportunity for public to be able to present their submissions on an individual. But I can recall one of the most popular and followed interview by a public officer who was grilled by one of the committees, was the former CJ, Dr. Willy Mutunga, you remember? That his grilling was so serious that public were following it day and night. And I think everybody, by the time CJ Mutunga was being given this job, we were not sure whether he is going to be given because of the kind of grilling was being done by members of parliament. But at least when he came, we knew who he is and what he stands for. So anybody who is taking a position in a higher office of this level, we should be given a chance to be able to follow up what is happening with the recruitment.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kagi, on that. And maybe just before you give us maybe another highlight, I think there is also something else that I have seen about the KEMSA. You remember the KEMSA scandal?
Yeah.
And actually in today's paper, there are some of these individuals that were actually implicated in this particular scandal. And during their questioning, I think by Senate committee, they've come out to actually say, no, it wasn't. Yeah? Each and every one of them is saying it wasn't me. Actually, there is a former public health ERPS, Josephine Boro, and she's been quoted as saying, I was not involved. The procurement process had started, and I was told the new government, that is Kenya Kwanza government, had to continue with it. I believe the staff advised properly. That is what she said. Now, there was this other individual known as Daniel Rono. CEO. He was actually the chairman of the KEMSA board. Now, this is what he had to say when asked about his involvement in that particular scandal. And he said, I was technically green. I got the tendering ongoing when I got into office as the new chair. KEMSA board was not in control of the tender, and we never sat to deliberate on it. And then we also have an individual by the name Terry Ramadhani. She was actually the CEO, and she stands suspended as CEO of KEMSA. This is what she said. We met the Global Fund over cancellation, but we did not understand the issues raised. We followed the fund's procedure, and I do not know why it was cancelled. Reasons given hold no water.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, and I think we will be waiting to follow up to know what happened that time.
Yes.
But the fact remains that there has been a huge problem within KEMSA, and something must be done. You know, even in the last regime, There was another problem that was there regarding to the COVID-19 materials. And up to date, we don't know the conclusion of that matter. And we believe within this regime, they are going to give us a comprehensive report on what transpired within the issue of the mosquito net that were costing 3.7 billion shillings. But I think the last time we were talking about the Parliament, I think Parliamentary Committee on Health and even Trade, they were proposing that we deny the KEMSA an opportunity to be able to do the tendering, because that is where the problem is.
Yes.
Nowhere else. Nowhere else. The issue of tendering is the main challenge with KEMSA. And they are proposing that they should be given another entity to be able to end this matter, which is coming and going,
Yeah.
and we are not having a lasting solution. They are feeling the lasting solution is to deny KEMSA the chance to be able to do the tendering process.
Exactly, I agree with you. And of course, I believe the man now in charge of KEMSA, the board chairman now, Irungu Nyakera, I think he really has a full entry to ensure that he turns around. And he has also said that, these are the words that he said, when we came to KEMSA, there were two sets of management. One worked from home, and the other was hired to sit in for those working from home. Over 200 people were working from home, including security officers, and they were still getting overtime. Now, this is something that came out, and most Kenyans were surprised that over almost, I think, 2 years post-COVID, and there are people who are still working at home in relation to the crisis that was brought by COVID-19.
And some of them are security officers, the soldiers.
Yeah.
They are working from home.
Yeah, I think that was quite something that really most people would have really wanted to find out what is it that maybe would have caused. So
yeah, before we end,
yes,
there is one thing that is drawing my attention. The Kenya-Russia new relationship. Kenya is warming up towards Russia in a big way. And I think it's for the first time that we are seeing Russia trying to show its interest in Africa. I don't know why. You know, first it was China, and now it's Russia. And the president is very, very categorical on this matter. You remember the premier from that country was here, and there was a lot of talks regarding the trade relationship and even diplomacy between Kenya and Russia.
Yeah.
It is not common, even from the times of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, even Moi, and even Uhuru, to be able to show interest in Russia. It's only in, mostly China and also Britain. If you look at the history of our relations between those major countries, the superpowers, Kenya has been warming up towards Britain, America, and also maybe China of late. But Russia is in the new entity. I think China is trying to look for a way to have its influence.
Yes.
You know, we were saying that it cannot be able to work because of the language. But you see, the way China has really influenced Africa, you cannot even imagine, despite the language barrier. So I'm also suspicious Russia has laid a good strategy to be able to have its say in African continent.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, and I know most Kenyans will actually be looking to see maybe what is it that Kenya has from Russia, or what is it that maybe Kenya can expect from Russia. And of course, even as we also try to remember what is or what has been happening between Russia and Ukraine. And one thing that has actually come out very vividly is that this particular government has actually tried in as much as possible to have bilateral relations or multinational relations. And maybe people want also, or maybe the analysts will want to find out what maybe Kenya stands to gain if it wants maybe to work with quite a number of countries, as maybe opposed maybe to showing allegiance to one particular country. And maybe what are some of the benefits that
and finally,
get? Yeah, maybe just in some few seconds before we take a break.
Oh, so I think the issue is the president has been warming up towards countries which are not for the dollar trade.
Okay.
You know, dollar trade. But Russia is one of them because when you work with Britain, we work with America, they want you to trade using their dollar. Yeah. Can you stop there?
Yeah. Okay, my director is telling me that now we can take a short break at this particular point. Then we'll come and also we'll be joined by a guest that is a devolution and economy analyst, that is Bwana Benson Masharia. to help us to look into this particular matter in details. Remember, we told you that we will be discussing about
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Tupate tofauti kati ya mazishi na maziko.
Haina tofauti yote.
Kumaanisha?
Kumaanisha ni kitu kimoja.
Kwa hivyo inamaanisha nini?
Ni like ni sasa ndasemaje sini kuhudhuria maziko, kumzika mtu aliyeaga, kumpumzisha aliyeaga, ni the same thing. Haina tofauti.
Tupate tofauti kati ya mazishi na maziko.
Mazishi ni ya matajiri, lakini maziko ni ya maskini. Na ndio maana mazishi watu wengi wanaenda kuzika tajiri, lakini maziko ni kufukara, tunatupandishwa nao kwa waondoe mashida kwa hii dunia.
Kamilisha methali. Mwangaza mbili
ajikwai.
Mwangaza mbili
ajikwai.
Kamilisha methali. Mwangaza mbili
marejeo ni ngamani.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
You're welcome to the program, The Mid-Morning Pack. We are glad that you're still with us this morning, discussing this particular weighty subject in the country. And just as we had promised, we have a guest. I'll be introducing him in a while. But just to remind you that we are talking about Parliament autonomy in debating the Finance Bill 2023. Parliament autonomy in debating the Finance Bill 2023. And we have a question for you because we want you to interact with us, and we're asking you, would you like your MP? I hope at this particular point you know who your MP is. Apparently quite a number of Kenyans don't know their members of parliament. But do you want your MP? Because this is something that will come before the House, or before the table of the House. Do you want your MP to pass or to oppose, okay, to approve or actually even to support or to oppose for that particular matter, the Finance Bill 2023. You can tell us yes, you can tell us no, but then give us, or you can actually support your argument. We would be glad to see also how you respond to this particular matter, even as we continue with this particular show. Our social media platforms is MBCI TV for Facebook. You can catch us live. And also for YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. And you are free to give us your comment on the same. At this particular juncture, let me introduce our guest. That is Bwana Benson Mashare. He's a devolution analyst and also an economy analyst. Karibu sana, good to have you today.
Asante sana Bwana Mangicho for always having time to invite me in your studios.
Karibu sana. It's always a pleasure. And because we also refer to you as a devolution analyst, and apparently it's like we are having some crises in some counties, including Nakuru. It's like members of the county assembly have boycotted their duties. What's happening? Is devolution at stake?
We are under threat because so far disbursement of funds to the counties has actually taken long enough. It has gone late. Counties are actually demanding over 94 billion from the national government in terms of what we call
94 billion.
94 billion.
Which has not yet been disbursed.
It has not been disbursed.
Yes.
And even
that is for the period financial year.
For the up to
ending
March,
financial year.
up to March.
Yes.
In fact, even from March again, we have had another almost 60 billion. So counties are just getting back into terms of they are getting late in terms of receiving that revenue. But at the same time, you must know also we are coming to almost to the end of financial year 2023, which means that that money, even if it comes, it may not actually be absorbed. Because normally what we do, we normally have programs that are supposed to be executed within a particular period of time. You know, there is the process of advertisement, tendering, evaluation, and then offering the tender, and then working so that people can be paid. Okay. You can imagine as per now, counties up to now, they have not received a lot of their share of allocation. That's why they have been trying effortlessly to go and meet the deputy governor, to meet the president, but you can see what is now happening. They are being told, unless we collect finances, we cannot be able to dispatch anything and disburse anything to the counties. So as we, MCAs had a meeting, but currently also we have, that is on the executive part, but on the, also on the legislative arms at the counties, the county assembly, MCAs, their salary was 365 before, and then it was reduced to 165. Then again, once you remove this and this is coming to almost 86,000. Well, that means that MCAs are unable actually to operate. Because you see, our Wanjiko are very different people. They bring Harambe cards every day. Yeah. They want you to assist them. They are bringing everything to you. Can you assist us, Mheshimiwa? So they are fighting.
But that is not lawful.
That is not lawful.
And they are not compelled.
In fact, but you see, our Njiko, Akinyi, and Awar, and the Mashinani, they care less about the law. In fact, when you get out of your house as Mheshimiwa, you will find everybody at your doorsteps. They're either taking tea at your home, I have not paid rent, I don't have food to eat, and that's the reality of our people. So our MCA currently, they're under siege. That's why they have decided they put business aside until their matters is addressed.
So what is the effect of that?
Effect of that means that, like right now, we are preparing the finance bill, like for example, for Nakuru County, 2023, 2024, which means that if they will not be available to debate and pass the said bill, that means that the county may end up losing revenue in terms of the adjustments that actually had been introduced in the new finance bill. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if they don't pass that finance bill and any other legislation that is brought to their attention, then they will actually paralyze the county government.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but there are two things here. There is the disbursement of funds that are meant for development in the counties, and there is the issue of the MCs with their salaries. Starting with the issues of the MCs with their salaries, yes. You've rightly put it that previously they used to earn 300?
And 65.
And 65.
Yes.
Then it was reduced
SRC,
to
reduced to 164.
164.
Then again, last year they also removed some allowances also. Then now it came from one.
Now, what was the process that maybe was undertaken, maybe for SRC to actually come out with the final figure? And is it possible that in line, or is it possible that according to the competence and the wisdom of SRC, it was justifiable for them to do this?
That is why it is bringing this problem, because you see, like the MCAs have got what we call the County Assemblies Forum. We expected that the County Assembly Forum will be consulted greatly by SRC when it's actually addressing matters to do with their salaries.
So SRC bypassed that.
SRC bypassed, they have not been talking to
Where did they get, so where do you think SRC got, how did they inform, how did they come out with this particular maybe step?
That is why I'm saying MCAs are up in arms, because when SRC is sitting down to review some of the allowances and some of the allocations that were done for MCAs, they did not entirely consult MCAs. They were just looking at maybe travel allowances. They say reduced from 45,000 to 20,000 or 15. Because what we expected is that they should have what we call a stakeholder meeting with MCAs, the speakers and all that, so that they also try to get from the MCAs. But now you see, when a commissioner stays in a hotel or in an office, and then they evaluate your capability, your problems and all that, and then they give a solution. That is what has become a problem. And that is why even up to now, the MCAs are still crying that they were not involved in at any stage of reviewing of their allowances by the SRC.
Is it possible that if they boycott their duties, but we have monies being actually allocated and also disbursed to the counties, things can still continue even without the availability?
Normally, the Public Finance Management Act provides for this, that in case there is any dispute at the county level, and we have a situation whereby, for example, there is a problem between the executive and the assembly, what it provides for access of that funds for 50%, because we cannot actually entirely paralyze the counties for accessing those funds.
Right.
But they will be given time to sort out that matter. But in the meantime, counties continue to run. We cannot suspend doctors because our MCAs are going.
So you think with this, the work of an MCA will continue to lose its appeal among Kenyans?
Yeah, it may, because you see, to a large extent, if I'm a Mheshimiwa, for example, myself, I wanted to turn around the life of my people. And when you look at the kind of life that MCAs live, everybody is at their doorsteps.
Yeah.
Already, once you become an MCA, your family changes their attitude towards you. Everything Mheshimiwa to side. Even your own kids, you cannot just, you start even asking for bursary. You come and find the environment for the members of the county assembly has actually changed. Even MPs. That's why you see majority of them, they go to Nairobi. They stay. It is not by choice. It is by default, by the reason why our wananchi are following them. Even us, those who we learned with them, we went to school together, they are those who believe that maybe we are somewhere better. So they keep chasing us up and down. So if you can see them that way, you can get another. So our Waheshimiwa are people under siege. And actually, unless we do a robust civic education to our people, they learn the works and the opportunity for MCAs. Never will our people understand. They will continue to pressurize our leaders, and they will not be able to work.
Yeah, maybe Mangicho, a small thing here, regarding to their parks. And I feel there was no level playing ground. If the SRC is the one which endorsed the reduction of their parks, and they are members of county assembly, remember we have also a national assembly and the Senate. There was a proposal for their parks to be reduced too. But the members of parliament and the Senate had their way out to be able to sabotage the reduction of their salaries. Then how can SRC reduce the members of county assembly, their parks, and refuse to do the same to members of the National Assembly? That means there is no level playing ground to this matter. Ashari.
Yes, and in fact, when you look at our members of our county assemblies, they don't have the World Development Fund. MPs have got the CDF, which means that they are able even to control development, be able to influence this and that. But our MCAs are only left with salaries. Salaries only. That is the only amount of money they are given. But when you look at the responsibility, the person in charge there at the ward is the MCA. Every other person going to the market will pass at the MCA's house. Which means that when we're looking at the whole, we were looking at World Development Fund, which will have given our MCAs an opportunity to be able to control the development agenda at the ward level. Right. That each and every ward, for example, for Nakuru, we have 55 wards. We expected that the 30 million, at least part of the operation should be like 3 million. for the MCA. So that hata huyu akiwa mgonjwa, this person has this, MCA can actually through the committee assist that person. But as it is right now, we are dealing MCAs, like you see senators. Senators were still crying the same with MCAs. Now they have come up with something called the Senate Oversight Fund, which means that now they will have money to do oversight. What about our MCAs? That's why MCA, because they are unable to do the ward development fund, now they have gone to their salary. Because either way, when you earn a salary as an MCA, it is your salary for the community. It is not for your family. That is the worst situation being faced by MCAs. That's why they have said enough is enough.
Wow. I think that is something that, of course, we'll also keep our tabs on, because if the counties are actually going to be under threat in terms of the MCAs actually not being in their sessions or not being actually in the assemblies, it would actually mean very, very bad, maybe for the progress of the country. But now let us come back to our main area of discussion today, and I know this is something that you have also been following up on, Bwana Macharia, and this is something that has actually been trending almost in every place in our country, even as we expect now tomorrow to see maybe how Parliament will actually do when this particular bill is brought for the I believe the second reading. But there is something that has come out this week, and this is something that now most Kenyans will want now to find out. Yes. The issue of the Parliament autonomy, and whether Parliament should really look at this particular bill from their own conviction of whether it is of major significance, or maybe there are issues that are not supposed to maybe to be actually approved or endorsed in this particular bill. But then there is the other side of intimidation from their party leaders. We have the Kenya Kwanza, and we outrightly heard the president saying that I will be watching keenly to see who or which is that member of parliament who will not support this particular bill. The Azimio side is also very, very clear, and we had the former premier, that is Azimio leader Raila Odinga, also being very adamant to the MPs in the Azimio side, also that you must not support this particular bill. Now, what do you think is the place of Parliament as far as this particular bill is concerned?
Thank you very much. I cannot answer that before I start. At least people should not understand why the finance bill.
Sure.
The finance bill, it provides schedules for either increase of taxes, reduction of taxes, duties, and there to any other legislation that we may want when we want to raise funds.
Right.
For example, you cannot pay tax anywhere, for example, any license without a finance bill. You cannot be able to deal with any issue regarding government, either you are reducing cost of living and all that, without affecting the finance bill. Which means that this government, on its plan, as they wanted to make sure that because they are restructuring how the previous government was working, in terms of, they are now saying we are not going to borrow. We're not going to borrow externally, so that we fund from local sources and our own revenue. Which means that this finance bill, to a large extent, it encompasses where Kenya will get money. Okay. So I come to your question. The MPs that we have right now, when you look at all of them, 290 constituencies across the republic, all of them are looking towards something called CDF. You remember very well when there was a crisis in CDF, they went even to Mombasa. They called the deputy president there, and they said, no, let's negotiate. There is what Kenyans have not been told by these people. They negotiated their way into CDF. That is why it was returned, and it's no longer now unconstitutional. Yes. Why? What happened all of a sudden? It's now constitutional. They just amended 1, 2, 3, and now it is business as usual. But it was a question of give and take. These MPs you see here, there will be an additional allocation of almost 30 to 40 million in our CDF, which means that this
30 to 40 million. That is on top of?
That is on top of the 100 million. 100 that million. Means that any sane MP cannot go to oppose that finance bill.
Including those in the opposition?
There is nothing like opposition in the finance bill. The issue here is there is no Migori opposition, there is no Muranga in opposition. The constituencies must receive almost equal allocation of funds, which means that if as an MP you go there, you say, I don't want this finance bill, That means that whatever you people had agreed there, it means it will collapse. How may I want? That is why the president is bold enough.
Yes.
To say in public,
And he's very
I want
confident.
to see that person that will oppose that finance bill. Nijue ni nani. Because as Mangicho, if you had already had a deal, you know yourself that at the end of the day, this amount of money will come to you. You have already been added. Okay. Where do you want this extra money to come? You understand, my people? So that's the dilemma
So
our MPs are
Yeah, so
facing.
there is no question of the MPs looking at the bill in terms of whether it is good or whether there are issues that are not good in it.
For
It will
example-
be absolutely because of what they know they've already received.
No,
from the
not
government.
really, but there are two options to this. They are also Kenyans. They have listened to how Kenya people are crying. They have listened to every quarters, the stakeholders who are talking about their bill. They have option one. Option one is just to go there and pass that bill in its entirety without any amendments. Waseme sasa wa Kenya shauri yenu. Sisi tumepitisha, bora si tupase CDF na tutatoroka.
And that would be the desire of the executive.
That will be and that is what the president wants, because
Without any amendment.
without any amendment, ndio ulikuwa nasikia wakisema no comma, no full stop. You heard about that? It will be passed like that.
Let it come, let it go the way it has come.
Because they have sat down, they have seen, if we can get this amount of money from, this bill can assist us to get this amount of money, then I think you can be able to fund infrastructure, healthcare, and all our programs for the people of Kenya. But the MP still can go down and say, fine, Mr. President and Deputy, we have listened, we are Kenya Kwanza MPs. But we will pass this, but with
amendments. Yes.
Then let's see how we can introduce amendments, and then we pass. We see whether these amendments, at least we can do that. But that will be the most difficult thing. Kwa sababu ndio unasikianga, wanapigia kwa simu even when they go to the toilet. Where are you? Mangicho, kwa nini uonekani hapo? They will be followed from day one. Yes.
But I think also the amendment, one of the challenges of that amendment is that it can be done away from the president's involvement. You know, you are doing it inside the parliament, and you vote inside the parliament, you agree there without involving the president, who is the main character in this bill. So the president needs to be involved in every stage of the bill, even amendments. So I feel he will not be able to go for the amendments unless they are done, they are given time to debate them and vote for another day. Yeah, to be able to make the correct amendment, which are not going to affect what he is planning.
And that means one thing. You know, the finance bill has timelines.
Yeah.
If by 31st of June or by 30th of June, the bill is not passed, it means that that thing will just collapse.
Yes.
It will not include the finance bill will not you know, even currently we are using the finance bill 2022-2023.
Yeah.
That's why.
So if this collapses, we still continue.
No, we still continue to use the other one.
The 2022-2023.
The 2022-2023.
Yes.
And that is why I'm saying it's a matter of do or die.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, when everybody wakes up, they are getting into a reality that we are going to get out of with that bill that has been passed. So because we don't have again time to maneuver before 30th of June. This thing, it has timeline. You cannot just wake up one day and you introduce amendments and then you say next week to Kutane. So it will be a question of push and pull, but the president is very categorical. Kagi, as the MP for Subukia, I told you this, we agreed on this, and for you to get roads.
So
what
would happen? What would happen to those MPs if, let's say, for example, there are those who maybe for one particular reason or another, they will decide to oppose the bill? What would happen to them? If they are convicted that this bill is not right for Kenyans?
That means that at the end of the day, you know, there is a reason why we have a party leader. A party leader is not somebody you just oppose. You see, even there are media reports here that there are MPs who were summoned and they were castigated. We hear Mangicho, you are going to your home, you are complaining. This is something that is going on. The president, as the party leader for Kenya Kwanza, that's why this government, they were signing coalitions. These are not just documents you sign because you want to drink tea together. They are very bounding, by the way. So if the party leader of that coalition, like the Kenya Kwanza, decide this is the way, and you feel otherwise, my friend, be ready to receive a backlash. You will start hearing, for those rebel MPs, they will start having what we call like a disciplinary action being taken.
But there is nothing like maybe the party doing anything, maybe to have the MP being recalled by the electorate?
Not to
that cannot happen.
Not to that
because
extent.
I think to most MPs, that is the major catastrophe if I'm asked to go back to the ballot.
And that is why when you read those media reports, they are saying the president told them, go, resign and go to the opposition. Do you know what he's trying to tell you? Come away, you are a UDA MP. Resign. Yes. Who can resign right now? Who can go back right now? So there is a lot of...
I can see it here. The president is reported to have summoned Kenya Kwanza MPs opposed to the bill and told them to switch to the opposition.
And you have examples of maybe like an MP like Githunguri MP, Gathoni wa Mushomba. I think it is in the media as having declared that should oppose the bill.
Yes.
And I think there was also a video that was making the rounds of her with several of her constituents. And she was asking actually the constituents how they would want her to vote when that bill is tabled in parliament. And they were very categorical that do not support it. And we will have Esther Passaris, who comes from the Azimio side, but to her, she says that she doesn't see anything wrong, maybe with, for example, someone who is earning 10,000 shillings being asked to part with 300 shillings for the house levy. So according to her, though she's in Azimio, but she looks like she's supporting this particular bill.
In all fairness, sometimes governments exist to improve the lives of the people. And we cannot purport to incite Kenyans and say that, okay, finance bill is wrong and we don't need taxes. I want to ask here, this national television, where do we as Kenyans, the country called Kenya, get our revenue from? Do we plant coffee that we say we are exporting? Do we plant majani? Are we exporting gold, diamond, and so on and so forth? So that we can say as a country we have the major foreign exchange earner is this. So that when we come to the Kenyans, we don't even look at we don't look at their pockets and we don't tax them heavily. One of the biggest law, even those who are learning business education, is taxation. Because you cannot go into business without learning about taxation. And any sane country that wants to raise revenue to be able to fund the activities of its citizens, they must understand Kagi is working, Macharia is not working. They must balance. That's the work of government. Whether we jump up and we come down, when you go there, you need good roads. We need Nini. Where will this money come? So the government remove from the left hand, gives it to the right hand. While they have also distributed some. And that's the problem that we now have as a country. Because right now, as we speak, the country called Kenya, right now we don't have any foreign exchange earner that we can say we have money as a country. But what we can actually say, Bwana Mangicho, is that the country must, the finance bill must, because again, this finance bill will not affect us immediately. Even the MPs, again, the most unlikely amend something they can introduce here, but I know they will be watched, is the operationalization period on the commencement date. You know, once this bill has been passed the 30th of June, it now starts January. That is when now, most of the time, we are going to start implementing. Anything passed, even at the county assembly, if you pass a bill today, your license ndio italipika kutoka next year, 2020.
But that school of thought, Bwana Macharia, and I know this is something that has also been very debatable. Even as we, I think in some few seconds, the director will be giving us, or will be joining our reporter Vincent Kimtai to also get what is it that he got from the field or from the streets in terms of Kenyans on the issue of whether they want their MPs to pass or not. To support or not to support this particular bill. We'll be getting, or we'll be joining Vincent Kimtai in a short while. But this school of thought, and I don't know what Kagi also feel about it, that the Kenyans, maybe who have made it, or maybe who have these employments, why should they be affected in terms of those who don't have employment to also get the employment? I think this is something that I don't know.
As Macharia works on it,
Yes.
It also closes my mind because it's the same thing regarding to the payment of the NHIF.
Yeah.
One of the proposal from the government is that those who have huge parks to pay huge amount of money towards the NHIF kitty to be able to consider the health of those who have not, in terms of going to the hospital. That you can go to the hospital even without much money, and you are treated the same as the person who has a lot of money. But when you go to the ground again, the story is very different. So that's why personally I'm questioning the issue of this, but of late that thought Mangichu is not being said. It has changed to this 3% levy. It's not mostly to help those who don't have to have houses. It's to create job.
It's to create job
for those who don't have.
Yes, but Macharia, you will contribute on that. You'll give us that because so some people are saying that they'll fear to be successful. Yeah, because if their success in life means they also have to look into the. You'll give us that particular thought, but let us first of all get our reporter, that is Vincent Kimtai, also went to the streets and got the opinions of Kenyans as to whether they want their MPs to support or to oppose the finance bill 2023. Vincent Kimtai, tell us how it went.
Shukran sana Mangicho Mola pamoja na Paul Kagi mkiwa upande wa pili wa studio. Na ikiwa imesalia siku moja tu mswada wa fedha mwaka 2023-2024 kuwasilishwa kwenye bunge la kitaifa, wito umezidi kutolewa kwa wabunge kusimama na Wakenya wakati ambapo watakuwa wakipitia mswada huo kwa mara ya pili hapo kesho siku ya Alhamisi. Hii ni kutokana na msimamo mkali wa vinara wa bunge la kitaifa, ikiwa wabunge wa Kenya Kwanza wakihimizwa na Rais William Ruto kuweza kupitisha mswada huo, huku wale wa Azimio la Umoja wakihimizwa na kinara wao Raila Odinga kuweza kupinga mswada huo katika bunge la kitaifa. Hata hivyo, hivi hapa leo tutakuwa tukizungumza na Wakenya ili kuweza kufahamu tu, je, wao wanafikiri ni hatua hipi wabunge wanastahili kuchukua wakati ambapo watakuwa wakipitia mswada huo na wakati ambapo watakuwa wakipigia kura mswada huo.
Mimi kwa hii msaada inakuja pitishwa, ningesema wabunge wenye tulichagua waiangushe, kwa sababu ile shida tunaye, kila kitu imeongezwa bei. Mafuta bei iko juu, unga bei iko juu. Kwa hivyo naona wakaenda kupitisha, sisi tutakuwa kwa shida ile kubwa kabisa. Rais wetu naye awache kuingilia, awache wabunge wenye tulichagua waamue vile wanataka, waiangushe, sababu sisi hata wananchi hatuipendi. Sasa kuhusiana na hiyo ujenzi wa hizo manyumba, mimi ningesema hizo nyumba ziwachane nazo, kwa sababu wakaaji wengi hawataki mambo ya hizo manyumba, na hizo nyumba hata kama za kuisha ama za jengwa, maskini hatapata hizo nyumba, zitakuwa za matajiri.
Na vile mimi nakaa hapa Nakuru, mbunge yangu ni Gekaria, na sasa vile ninaweza kumwambia ni angushe hiyo mjadala, kwa sababu mjadala ya manyumba haisaidii sisi, haturaragi nje, tunalala kwa manyumba. Ile vitu inatusukuma ni hii vitu ile wanaongezea mambei. Kwa hivyo kama ni kufikiria, wanatufikiria wapee sisi mashamba, alafu hiyo mashamba hata kama ni kanuzuika, utapata hiyo shamba unalima, unapata chakula ya tumbo na unapata pahali ya kujenga kanyumba. Lakini kutuambia maneno ya nyumba ya kujenga huko, unajengewa hiyo nyumba ikusaidia na nini? Na unailipa. Si watafute mashamba iko katika Kenya ni mingi, watapatie sisi mashamba, alafu tulime watu wakose kuwa njaa. Lakini kutuambia maneno ya manyumba ati waongezee sisi makoti, sisi hatutaki, waagushe hiyo mjadala. Sisi hatutaki kusikia. Tutatokea tuambie president hiyo mjadala hatutaki.
Sijaona maana yake, sababu hiyo ni kama mradi yake yeye mwenyewe anajitungia hiyo pesa after kuretire. Sasa ile ataretire ni pesa yake ya mfuko. Mtu sasa kama 60 years itakuwa wapi? Ndio mimi sasa nijengewe nyumba. Mwingine una mtoto mwenye atarithi hizi vitu. Kukopa si achukue pesa. Kwani zamani ilikuwa inatoka wapi pesa ya kujenga barabara, miradi zingine zilikuwa zinatoka wapi? Pale ilikuwa inatoka sitoke tu. Mimi naona hiyo mswada si mzuri. Alafu kwa nini wanalazimisha watu? Mtu si ni hiari ya mtu afanye kitu yenye roho yake inataka. Lakini sasa ukinilazimisha ndalipa na uchungu. Hiyo hata naweza kujistress, hiyo ni kustress mtu. Sababu ukiniambia nataka kujengewa, sijakuwa tayari kujengewa. Labda niko na nyumba. Unaniambia nataka kujengewa, nijenge nyumba nyingine ya kufanyia nini na niko na nyumba. Sasa hiyo mswada mimi sijaifurahia.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Kevin, hapa ni Nakuru. Na mimi mjadala yenye ninaona, unajua kwanza saa hii ukiangalia serikali kuna mambo mingi sana yenye wameleta mpaka unashindwa ni aje. Kwa sababu saa hii kitu ya kwanza unga ndio imepanda. Mwananchi saa hii unga imepanda. Ni ukiingilia petrol station sio kama venye tulikuwa tunanunua petrol station. Saa hii petrol station imepanda. Sasa hii mjadala mimi kitu ya kwanza sikubaliani na mimi sitaki ipitishwe.
Kwa majina naitwa Betty Kirol. Mimi kwa hii msaada kesho na kubaliana bili endelee. Sababu ukiona tusipo kuwa na hiyo taxes ya juu, Kenya tunaendelea tu kuomba mpaka lini? Sasa tunataka as Kenyans tujitegemee wenyewe. Tusikuwa tunaomba pesa. So naona I think in the next future maisha itakuwa sawa. Wakiongeza hiyo bill. Hiyo bill ikipita kila kitu itakuwa sawa. Naunga mkono kabisa.
Mimi naitwa Kaitare Maina. Kwa upande wangu mimi naona hiyo bunge kuchagua bunge si mbaya, lakini tena taxes ubaya tunaongea tunakubali na tunakubaliana hiyo maneno yote, lakini baadaye tena nakuta maneno imebadilika. Ile bunge yenye ilikuwa inachaguliwa itufanyie venye nafaa ifanye, sio hivyo tena, kumechange. So kwa upande wangu mimi siwezi kubali, sababu tax itaenda juu. Saa hii maisha iko juu, sukari iko juu. Jana imepanda imefika 250. Saa hii ugali imepanda, kila kitu imepanda. Maisha imekuwa ngumu, hata unakuja kwa kazi ufanye kazi, unashindwa utaelekea wapi, utaenda kwa jirani gani? Sasa hiyo bunge kishachaguliwa, tushakubali hiyo maneno, baadaye tena tutarukwa. So heri kae tu. Sasa hakuna haja tuwe kwa maisha ngumu tena, baadaye tena tujiongezee mashida zingine. Heri kae isimame tu, sababu haitusaidii chochote. Ikipanda itaenda zaidi. Saa hii tunasema tuko zaidi, kwa maisha imetuweka kwa kamba. Hata wengine wanajinyonga sababu mama moja amenyonga watoto wake. Maisha imekuwa ngumu kwake, sio kupenda kwake, ni anaona hana otherwise. Sasa kuliko tujinyonge, heri hiyo bunge ikae. Tuache kujinyonga sababu maisha imekuwa ngumu zaidi. Sasa heri ikae, tusichague hata hiyo bunge sipitishwe, na hizo manyumba zao hatutaki. Kama wababu zetu, wababa zetu wote walikuwa wanaishi kwa hiyo maisha ngumu, lakini wanajitafutia, wanapata hizo manyumba, wamejijengea. Wanaishi kwa nyumba mbaya lakini wanaishi. Sasa hiyo nyumba mzuri utanipatia nikule nini ndani? Nyumba mzuri ni ile yenye uko na kitu yenye unakulia ndani. Si tunaishi kwa gorofa na kuna chakula. Sasa kuliko wapitishi hizo mabunge na nini, wachukue hiyo pesa waende walipe deni yenye tunadaiwa. Chakula yenye ilichukuliwa 2017 tukichagua president, walikopa chakula ugali. Hiyo ugali hawajawahi lipa, wamelipa nusu, imebaki nusu. Si wachukue hiyo pesa waende walipe, tutoe kwa madeni. Kama president hataki madeni, tunakubaliana na yeye. Hiyo ni mzuri, ndio tusiendelee kukua kwa maisha hali ya juu. Tuwe na at least tuwe na chakula yetu pia sisi. Lakini sasa maisha itakuwa sawa. Lakini sasa chukue hiyo pesa yote, yeye yenye anapeleka kanisa, mara amepeleka wapi? Achukue hiyo pesa enda alipe deni China, alipe deni hii madeni yenye tunadaiwa ya ugali 2017 itoke. Kisha tuondokea tukae na maisha mzuri. At least tuwe sawa. Manyumba hatutaki. Hiyo pesa yenye naunda manyumba enda lipa deni. Tukubaliane hiyo. Upande wa chakula sahihi hatuwezi mlaumu zaidi, sababu sio yeye analima, ni sisi tunafaa tulime, tutengeneze, tusaidiane na yeye. Lakini tena kuenda kutuweka kwa mambo ya bunge nini, kuenda tena kutuweka kwa maisha hali ya juu, hata na yeye mwenyewe anaona ni ile hataki, haezi tuambia. Hatuwezi patana yeye atuambie ama tumwambie. Lakini sasa sisi tumekataa. Sisi tuko chini yake, lakini tumekataa hiyo maneno.
Hatuna starehe, hatuna chochote. Sasa kama sisi ni watu wa jua kali, tunashinda hivyo, hakuna mtu ananunua kitu. Hivyo tu, tunataka maisha irudi chini.
Kwa majina naitwa Evans Karanja. Mimi ni mkaaji wa hapa Nakuru. Na kwa hii mjadala inakuja Hamisi, sisi tungetaka wabunge wetu, sababu ni sisi wanawakilisha kule bunge, tungetaka waangushe kabisa, sababu inakuja kufinyilia mwananchi wa kawaida. Kwa mfano, kwa hii kioski hapa, huyu mama anauza chai, na hakika tukiangalia kwa faida yake ya siku ni kama 200. Ukihesabu transport ya kutoka hapa kwenda nyumbani ni shilingi 60 kulingana na magari yetu. Ukitoa maji na stima ni kama anabaki na 100. 100 ukienda nyumbani, na shukari kilo moja ni 150. Uga kilo moja ni 150. Hata haijatosha kukula jioni peke yake. Na huyu ako na watoto, watakula lunch, watakula supper, iko breakfast, imebaki nini ya huyu mtu? Ukimuongezea mapato ingine matoleo kwa hiyo kazi yake, ni ukweli kabisa umemweka kamba kwa shingo. Kwa hivyo tungetaka wajumbe, sababu ni sisi tumewatuma huko, wawede watuwakilishe sisi na kusema hatutaki hii mjadala ya finance bill kupita. Yeye huyu rais wetu ni mzuri, lakini yeye ndiye anatuambiaga kila sehemu iko na independent yake mwenyewe. Yeye ni executive, kuna legislative na kuna judiciary. Hii sasa ni legislative. Awachane na wabunge wakate kauli kulingana na mapenzi yao na kulingana na wananchi ambao waliwachagua wakawatuma bunge. Yeye awache kuingilia kabisa. Yeye ni executive. Alikuwa anasema hapo mbeleni wakati wa uhuru, kila sehemu ya utawala ijikaishe independent. Kwa nini sasa yeye na yeye anaingilia na matisho ati ataangalia kwa TV ni nani atapiga no? Hiyo ni matisho baya sana kabisa. Awache mbunge akata kauli kulingana na mapenzi yake. Asimutishe. Kama mbunge atasema no, akatae kutupea service, tutagoja miaka 5 tutapiga kura wakati mwingine.
Kwa majina ni Unisaki. Mswada jo anaongea, mimi siitaki. Sasa sisi watu wa chini tu tunafinyiliwa. Hiyo hata ikijengwa sioni kama sisi itatusaidia. Ni hawa wakubwa tu ndio itasaidia. Mimi naweza sema waangushe. Sitaki. Sioni tutusaidia. Gharama maisha imekuwa juu. Hayo ukiona sukari imefika 250 kilo, unga ndio hiyo iko juu. Haya watoto uko nao. Pengine kama wangekuwa wakubwa wenye wako na pay slip wanatoa, hiyo iko sawa. Kisa sisi watu wa chini unatoka uuze utuswiti kama utu, upate 100, kuna mtoto anataka akunywe uji nini? Pesa sisi haitutoshi, ni kidogo sana. Kama ni hao wakubwa wanaweza toa na wajenge, iko sawa. Wenye wako na pay slip.
Mangicho pamoja na Paul Kagi, hayo ni maoni ya Wakenya kuhusiana na wito wao kwa wabunge wakati ambapo mswada wa fedha unasubiriwa kuwasilishwa kwenye bunge la kitaifa hapo kesho siku ya Alhamisi. Hata hivyo mgawanyiko unatarajiwa kushuhudiwa zaidi wakati ambapo mswada utakapowasilishwa hapo kesho katika bunge la kitaifa, ambapo mrengo wa Kenya Kwanza umeshikilia kwamba utapitishwa mswada huo jinsi ulivyoagizwa na Rais William Ruto, huku mrengo wa Azimio la Umoja ukishikilia kwamba utaweza kuangusha mswada huo jinsi ulivyoagizwa na kinara wao Raila Odinga. Hata hivyo macho yote sasa itaelekezwa kwa wabunge, ambapo wabunge tarehe 15 mwezi wa Juni watakuwa wakipigia kura kuweza katika kuipitisha au kuweza kuiangusha. Wakenya wakisubiri kuona kuwa iwapo wabunge wataweza kuipitisha jinsi ilivyo au kuangusha au kuifanyia marekebisho. Nikiripotia kipindi cha Mid Morning Park, jina langu ni Vincent Kimutai.
There you go, our reporter Vincent Kimutai there interacting with Kenyans, getting their opinions on whether they want their MPs or members of parliament to pass or to support the Finance Bill 2023 or to oppose the same. And it is quite very obvious and very categorical, Bwana Macharia, that most Kenyans do not want the members of parliament to pass this particular bill. Is it because Kenyans are not informed about this particular bill? Or is it because they know this will just bring much more pain in their livelihoods?
I think there are two things. That first of all, the government has not taken time to explain, step by step, why they are doing what they are doing. You know, the finance bill was just made and the MPs were given the bill. So Kenyans have not actually been done what we call civic education to understand the effects and what is the role of the finance bill, what are the positive and what are the negative effects. Because if Kenyans can learn from there, we will actually be opposing from a point of knowledge. We will actually be giving a suggestion from a point of knowledge. But as we have right now,
but they have the knowledge, like for example, the house levy.
By the way, that's why you know it's a new thing that has come, and actually it has attracted a lot of attention. Because you see, you cannot introduce something that was not there in the country and you expect people to clap and embrace that thing. Even for me personally, I think that should not have actually taken effect. Because to a large extent, it will bring a lot of confusion. Because if you are
the Kenyans cannot just get it that the government will build them houses. It's not thinking. It's not making sense.
It is not. In fact, how the government has actually done, they have created a lot of confusion. You know, the affordable housing they used to talk before, we had UN Habitat that was building homes in the what we call slum areas. They come and remove the slum dwellers. They build skyscrapers. They remove the slum dwellers from those houses. They put them in affordable housing, whereby they pay maybe 2,000. It's a 2-bedroom house. Yeah. They pay for years and they own the houses. That was the affordable housing. Hii ukora ingine unasikia saizi ati affordable housing, they are building houses and then some other people are coming there, they buy the homes. That is why you find that to a large extent, Bwana Mangicho, we have a problem in terms of making sure that those even who are owning the home, just like the other time we talked about, we cannot even say this is Mangicho, they actually qualify and so on and so forth. Yes. So we cannot get it why the government should actually force us into building of houses. People are building houses. Even like right now, for example, in my farm in Elbagon, I build a mad old house. That's where I stay and I'm comfortable. Yes. So when you start telling me when I get money, you start deducting me, I think that's when the government. So what we also expect, just like you see.
So when you're talking about the houses, so it fails on both fronts. The first front of people getting houses doesn't make sense. The other front that the government is also pushing is that Kenyans, the youth, will get employment out of this.
Like this employment, they are saying, which employment? They were talking about that, you see like right now, when there was this affordable housing which was done here in Nakuru. When you look at the people who are given kibarua, ati hawa watatengeneza madirisha, hawa milango, hawa watengeneze. These are kibaruas just for 6 months. After that, these people, then again, after that time, utaona tena tukifanya nini? Hiyo kazi inaisha. So we are assuming that we have millions of Kenyans who will do mjengo and build those things, and that is now the job. Me, I wanted a very clear employment plan. That if we get this money, in fact, we are going to even to put maybe in parastatals, we employ. We put maybe in counties, we tell them, counties, we are adding your allocation. For employment, can you employ these people? But here, kusema ati affordable housing, how many, for example, even if they build 5,000 houses, how long will that maintain as an employment factor for the next 10 years or 20 years? It's not.
And do you really compel or do you force all the youth to get into construction?
No. People have, that's why people have gone to school. You are saying about vocational training. You're talking about universities. We cannot be telling our daughters and sons that go and work hard in the university and then you come and in Mjengo hapa in PWD estate. That's why I'm saying something is amiss somewhere. There is a lot of what we call confusion, but the government must decide at the right time. We did something wrong, let us correct them. Yeah. It is not an angelic government that they are just some angels there. They are just human beings like us. They can legislate things which are not working. For example, right now, there are some legislation which were passed by the previous parliament, but they have never taken effect. Because on implementation, we came to realize they are not viable to the Kenyans. That is why you see even this housing levy was there, even in the previous administration. But it could not take place because actually people are seeing the problem we had of COVID. How could we implement such kind of a program when you see people are suffering? Even right now, people are just talking now about food and basic commodity. So when you start telling me about it, I don't even get what you're talking about.
Maybe, Mashari, as you say that, assume by tomorrow the bill passes in Parliament.
Yes.
And to single out the housing levy, what would be the biggest handle for the president, or maybe challenge after the passing of that bill, particularly housing bill? What would be the biggest challenge from the public?
I think one thing that people should understand is that, in fact, this debate is for the employed people. The employed. True. because it is the employed who will be cut 3%, deducted 3%, and then the employer gives.
Employed, you know, they are also in employment, we have two categories.
Yes.
In the public sector,
Yes.
and even in private sector.
In the private sector. Now you see here, when you see them talking casually in meetings, wanasema mimi na deputy rais na hawa wabunge wengine na hawa watu wengine tunakula mshahara ya raia ikikatwa si mbaya. They are talking casually like that. But once this housing development levy fund has been passed, it will affect both categories.
Not public servant.
Not public servant. Actually, why are we wasting time talking about it and we are not public
But the
servant?
DP, I think, the day before yesterday, told press that you are also going to pay this levy casually.
That is why I'm saying there are, sometimes in life, it reaches a point you have some level of impunity. That you start thinking because you are the president, you can dictate here and there, you can just casually dismiss people just the way you're saying. So he's just telling them, it is like sometimes they said, you will take this, the BBI, it will be taken like quinine, dawa ya malaria, mpende msipende mtane. You see those kind of things, eh? The Sharif Nasir of Mombasa, mpende msipende mtafuata vile nyayo wanasema. Those are the things that even are going to affect this government. And that's why we are saying, even for our MPs, they must reach a point they say, okay, we may have this plan, but we must tell the government this is the way to go. They must also exert their authority. You know, I always ask people, why do people always think and believe that there will be MPs who will come and change our country and not them? Yes. Even this parliament can decide, president na deputy mumeongea vile mumeongea, but we will change for the better for our people. It is better, they say, reduce the money for CDF. As opposed to, so that we don't tax our Kenyans more. Now what will happen is that the MPs can say, for us we are able to stagger development. Yes. For example, we were supposed to build this in 6 months, 1 year, but Mr. President, we are ready to take 3 years for the sake of our own people. Because we cannot subject our people into that kind of taxation. Everybody is crying, kila mtu sasa, everybody, even you go to the supermarket, you find somebody, it's like window shopping. Somebody looks at things, then they leave. It is not that they are leaving. It is the problem we are having. So the president must come to that.
And that is the question, because Bwana Macharia, to these Kenyans, the situation is already worse for them. They can barely put a meal on their table. Now, they don't understand. It's not making sense that then this particular government can come and have them or ask them to actually now even give more or want now to even take more from them. They already don't have, and even the little they have now, the government wants to take with them in the name of this is what will make things to actually be better, maybe in future. So the question is, are there no any other alternatives the government could use to raise money for the country, for development, for progress of the nation, other than taxing its own citizens? There is no any other means. There is no any other creativity. It has not even been tried in other countries.
They are only, you see, like
other than borrowing, let's leave the borrowing.
There are what we call the international funding agencies, like the IMF, like World Bank. They normally give loans also to Kenyans. They give grants. They are grants. But you see, grants can never manage a country, because grants, they are to a large extent for certain projects that are identified, especially by the international community. You don't just write a proposal to them and they fund roads everywhere. You see, like the World Bank is funding some roads in the city. They fund specific programs. Okay. So the only thing, the other alternative could have been, if as a country, for example, we can also identify how can we build a local industry that can be strong to be able to support the economy of our country. And now that money to build that economy, that is now where we are asking still ourselves. We go to the same point. Where do we get that money? Because in other jurisdictions, they have tried to match their source revenue and their development agenda. That they don't just plan and plan. That's why sometimes I feel very bad. When the president goes to a meeting, everyone anasema hiyo barabara ya kutoka Gatundu kwenda sijui nini, hiyo ya kutoka Emuhaya kwenda baka Matete.
Those things remain stories.
You know, those are things that sometimes you say for political expediency. But to our people, they don't, and they clap.
They think
they clap. No, they think the money will fall from. They are nothing. They must know the more we have agenda for development, the more they will be taxed. And this must get to Kenyans. So that even when people go, when the governor comes to a meeting, well, Madam Governor, tunataka imata, tunataka imtaro, tunataka, wanajua, nao wajue, watatoa upande ingine, waweke upande. When our people will understand that there is no magic world in terms of development, in terms of making sure that they access services, it is upon them. But finally, let me say this. When you live in a developed country like Kenya, and you become the president, you must understand the status where your country is. Your country is to a large extent where now the taxes must match the development agenda. Whereby you cannot say that taxation is put aside and yet your people want development. The kind of things that you see people taking in meetings, hata maaskofu wakisimama, even our religious, they are saying, oh, Mheshimiwa tunakuomba hii barabara ikutoka hapa utuwekee mastima, hii ingine iko na pothole. They must understand these people will still come for them. And they will come in terms of taxes. So the president has also an option to keep quiet. Just do the things that were being done in the previously administration, that you go and borrow 180 billion there, you borrow there for the sake of developing the country. But at the same time, have you ever heard the saying, they say, baka wewe mtoto wako wako na deni? See, you hear those? Yeah. Those are not Abunuosi stories. Yes. They are true. They're true stories. You see, when you build like the expressway with all those billions, almost, I don't know how many billions, 300. When you build such a road, just a road in Nairobi, and then that road is going to be passed to us and our generations to pay those loans. That's why even at a SGR, we don't have the SGR right now. It's not managed by Kenya. It is Chinese. By the way, when you go there, they are the ones who normally cut the tickets. You pay everything to them because they must return their investment. The same case even up to now. There are countries you are hearing all over the world, they are losing their country. Even in Kenya, you heard some stories about our port. Simulisikia vita kama hiyo na mkaona kama ni fitina. It was going to be taken because now you see sometimes in a country where citizens are hungry for development, they are hungry for change, they compel the government to go to what we call unverified borrowing, and they go to levels that they will never get back to the economy.
But sometimes, Mashari, you're talking about those developments in terms of we paying those developments.
Yes.
I'm taking a scenario of the Nairobi Expressway, whereby the road was constructed by Chinese, but the Kenyans are not paying it directly, as you are saying. Those who are using the road, they have a special levy. They are being charged to pay for that road to use it. And I feel maybe is one way of quickening our development. I was also thinking about this proposed Mau Summit Nairobi road, dual carriage road, whereby it was agreed upon between the Kenyan government and France. They want to construct a very dual carriage from Mau Summit to Nairobi. And then anybody who is going to use that road is going to be charged a levy. That means it is going to improve on our infrastructure, but Kenyans are not directly paying taxed for this road, but only for the users. Don't you feel it is a one way of quickening our development without pressing Kenyans more?
That is why I was saying, we must, as a country, identify opportunities of cooperation and partnership that does not directly affect our people. Like those partnership in terms of, for example, even right now, you can hear France come and build a market. Maybe a fish market in Kisumu. That fish market, they may be able to charge certain levies here and there to be able to recover their investments. Once they do that, that means that we will not pass the cost directly to Atino or Akinyi in Siaya or wherever. But now when we come to a country like Kenya, their roads and their infrastructures, you cannot attract such kind of partnership. When we are in Homa Bay, when we are in Kisumu, town east, when we are in Murang'a, when we are in Mombasa, there are certain areas you cannot attract, not unless, like now you're talking about, there is this Dongo Kundu, si unasikianga hiyo barabara hiyo. Kuna hii sasa hiyo dual carriage Marua, hiyo kuna hiyo Rironi to Mau Summit. These are the roads which can attract funding. and especially from the development partners. But when we do that, that means that also, Kagi, we must be rife to the fact that a larger population will be left out. That's why certain programs, you don't just initiate them because they look better to your eyes. You have to understand your people, you have to understand their level of income, and that's why in other countries they have said, we will develop at our own pace, because you don't want again to bombard our people with a lot of burden, just like it is happening in Kenya. This is why we are saying, as devolution expert, we cannot sacrifice our counties, we cannot sacrifice our people at the expense of development. I better walk on foot, but my stomach is full. I better walk on foot and my child can go to school. Life is affordable for any average Kenyan down there. As opposed to now, whereby you see me napata pesa mingi 1 million. You mention 1 million as if it's 10,000 or 1,000. You see the way the deputy president is talking. This is not the way to address Kenyans. Na tunaona kwa mitandao hapo, tunaona every other time the son is giving 3 million, this other is giving 5. Those people, we are living in two different worlds for the average Kenyans. So we must come to that conclusion that even our MPs as they go tomorrow, first of all, they might decide we may cut the umbilical cord, while at the same time, once we cut the umbilical cord, we may send a message to the president and the deputy. That this is, for our people, they are sacrificing us. And I'm sure these MPs will get it rough when they go back to their homes. Kuna mali watafukuzwa hata kwa mikutano. Na wataambiwa kwenda huko, nyinyi ndio mnatumaliza, because Kenyans are unanimous when it comes to the way we are now suffering. There are no Azimio Mikates, there are no UDA Mikates. Sisi tunaumia.
And Mangicho, maybe finally regarding to the issue of financial bill, there were a lot of memorandums that were presented to the committee.
By different organizations and stakeholders.
Even individuals.
Yes.
Huge memorandums and proposals regarding to the bill, of which I think most of them were against the bill. My question still remains, why should we hold all these sittings and using taxpayers' money with a committee which really knows very well they are not ready to implement any of the memorandums presented to them by the public?
That is the most unfortunate thing with our parliament, with our committees, that they are just an extension arm of the government. They are just an extension of the executive, that they have lost independence to either do anything. I'll even say, Wanjiku is saying this. While in Masaiko Fund, wameshika tu makalamu, they are just there to reason. Even sometimes you go for public participation, you think they are writing. They are not writing anything. In fact, you talk. They bring another person. Again, after finishing, now they compile a report. The report is not what you people have given out. That is why, for the first time maybe, the Kenyans may decide to do their own public participation.
How will they do?
They will do their public participation by castigating their MPs. So that wewe ukienda kukaa kwa meza unajionekana kwa committee, unauliza mtu ati wewe uko na watoto wangapi, and you have a CV. What is your name? You have a CV, and you are asking very obvious question for PR purposes. Our MPs will reach a point they will not lie to Kenyans again.
Yes.
They must tell Kenyans, sisi tumeenda kwa sababu tuliongezewa hii pesa na tukaambiwa iko hivi na tumeona hii tusipopitisha hii mswada sisi wenyewe tumeumia. They should tell Kenyans so that we stop fighting them, but they are at the mercy of the executive.
So even if 90% of those who presented their memorandum on that particular bill, and they presented on the ground of opposing it, it will not.
No, one thing that can happen, if those memorandums are also collected and they were presented and then they are coalesced into one single document, that is why you see Omutata has gone to court.
Yes.
He is going to present. This is what our people said. But you people at the committee, you said opposite. Yes. So the courts will declare that things null and void. That's how we go against the finance bill now. That's why our wanangangana the other side and Omutata is waiting on the other side. And that is the only way now we are going to assist our people, because the courts are there to check the executive. If they are not going again to, they start now clapping the way we have been seeing it is, huyu anatolewa huyu anakatiwa mastaka, huyu ni mweupe kama pamba, huyu mwingine amekuwa mweusi. Those kind of manner, we are not going to have a country. The both three arms of government must respect each other and respect each other's opinion. Ikiwa sisi kotini tutakuja, ikiwa we the president utakataa kusikia watu yako, by intimidating the members of parliament, the way things are happening right now. Sisi tunakungoja kotini. Tutangoja pia kotini, and that's why you see even there are some certain counties that the finance bill has not been implemented.
Right. Yeah.
Because we went to court. Like Kiambu in 2015, I was part of the team that we went to court to challenge Kabogo's finance bill because it was very punitive na alikuwa nasema mfanye vile mnataka. We stopped that finance bill until it elapsed the other time. And they changed to what actually we had said we wanted not to be included, and which was affecting business. Because you cannot just wake up and say, Kiambu is next to Nairobi. Let's change this, and license you talk 5,000 to 15,000. So those are things that we can still get our way out when we have that kind of memorandums presented in courts, and then we do a petition.
So individually, how would you like if you are a member of parliament and maybe even all the MPs to vote?
For example, Mimi, when now I come to myself personally, I would wish them for the first time they show what we call independence in terms of how they are going to prosecute our matters. They have listened to Wanjiko. They cannot say they are not listening to us, but they are listening to the president or the party leader. Yes. They cannot say that all people, about 3 million, are complaining while they will listen to only 2 people.
Yes.
There is no justification. So expect MPs to a large extent to say, okay, Bwana President, this is what we wanted, but I think Akinyi wanted.
Who do you think the MP should fear, the president or Wanjiko?
They should fear Wanjiko because they will come back to us. Because of course they will want to present themselves like, you know, they don't care, but they must understand they will face the wrath of Wanjiko.
Yes.
But is that the case as per now?
Our time is far more
yes.
in 10 seconds.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Bwana Macharia, our devolution and also an economy expert. Thank you so much for your insights on this particular bill and what we are actually expecting to see Parliament perform when this bill is tabled in Parliament tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and we want to bring it to a stop at this particular point. I also want to appreciate you so much for being with us and also for your contribution in today's discussion. We always say this particular show, it is important for you to be part and parcel of what is happening in the country. On behalf of the entire team that has made this a success, my name is Mangicho Mola. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Yes, my name is Paul Kagi, and remember tomorrow all eyes and ears are glued towards the National Assembly regarding to the Financial Bill 2023. Blessed day ahead.